Look around. Most people are slaves and don't even know it. Not to chains, not to prisons, but to their own emotions. One rude comment ruins their day. One betrayal breaks their spirit. One failure and they spiral. That's not strength. That's fragility dressed up as normal life. If someone can control your mood with a word, they own you. And if you don't like the sound of that, good. Because today, I'm going to show you how to take that power back and become the kind of person who can't be shaken by anyone or anything. Emotional control is the greatest weapon a man can possess in a world built on chaos, noise, and constant provocation. Everyone wants a reaction out of you. Friends, enemies, strangers, social media, the news, your boss, your family. They test you every day. And if you break, even for a second, they win. You show anger and they see the crack. You snap and they know exactly where your pressure point is. That's weakness. That's emotional exposure. And the truth is, most people walk around with zero control over their emotions. They think being loud or aggressive is strength, but it's just insecurity trying to wear a mask. Real power doesn't raise its voice. It doesn't flinch. It doesn't even blink. Because the moment you lose emotional control, you hand over leverage. You show that you can be moved, swayed, manipulated, and that makes you a puppet, not a player. Anger is a currency the weak spend recklessly. They let it pour out over nothing. Someone cuts them off in traffic, rage. Someone disagrees with them, explosion. Someone disrespects them, they lose all logic and try to respond like animals. But that's exactly the trap. They want you to react. They want you to lose your composure. Because when you're angry, you stop thinking. You become predictable. You say things you can't take back. You make moves that cost you time, energy, and credibility. Emotional outbursts don't fix anything. They don't scare your enemies. They expose you. They prove you don't have the discipline to hold the line. And if you don't have the discipline to control yourself, how can you expect to control your results, your relationships, or your future? People respect stoicism. They fear calm under pressure. If someone disrespects you and you don't flinch, it sends a stronger message than any aggressive response ever could. It tells the world you are untouchable. Not because you're passive, not because you don't feel anything, but because you've mastered the art of not reacting like everyone else. That's what sets the elite apart. They process anger. They control it. They decide when and if it's worth expressing. They don't operate on emotion. They operate on outcome. And sometimes silence is the most dominant move you can make. Because while everyone else is barking, you're plotting, calculating, building. You're always in control, even when others are trying to shake you. This level of emotional mastery doesn't happen overnight. It's forged in the fire. Every time you get triggered but choose to hold steady, you build strength. Every time you want to snap but stay composed, you gain power. It's mental muscle, and like any muscle, it grows through pressure and repetition. You teach your nervous system that nothing external can control your internal state. You rewire your brain to stop reacting and start responding with clarity. You become immune to the bait, and that immunity makes you unstoppable. Because most people are slaves to their mood, their ego, and their feelings. But when you're calm, you're dangerous. Because calm people see things clearly. Calm people think in patterns. Calm people win the war before it even begins. People will test you. They will insult you, disrespect you, provoke you on purpose, not because they're powerful, but because they're desperate for a reaction. That's how they measure their own relevance, by how much control they have over others. The second you realize that reacting emotionally is exactly what they want, you start seeing things differently. You stop handing over your energy. You stop handing over your energy like it's worthless. You understand that silence, composure, and indifference are moves. Cold, calculated moves that keep you 3 steps ahead. Emotional control isn't about being numb. It's about choosing when and how to strike, if you even need to strike at all. And that choice is everything. Most people walk around thinking everyone's out here playing fair, being honest, and acting with good intentions. That's the first mistake. The second is assuming that every word, every look, every action from someone else is meant to be taken personally. That mindset is exactly why people get triggered, annoyed, or thrown off their game so easily. When you understand that people are tools, not triggers, your entire reality shifts. You stop getting angry. You stop letting anyone disturb your peace. You start seeing the game for what it really is, a collection of players, each trying to get what they want, and most of them doing it unconsciously, through manipulation, drama, or emotion. Everyone has an agenda. Your boss, your friend, the random stranger online, the cashier, the influencer talking to millions. They're all pushing something, even if it's just a need to feel important or validated. And once you get this, you stop expecting anything from anyone emotionally. You stop assigning weight to their words or actions, because you know most people don't even understand why they do what they do. So why would you waste energy reacting to them? If someone insults you, they're trying to assert dominance. If someone complains to you, they're trying to dump their baggage on your mental space. If someone brags, they're begging for status. If you let any of that get under your skin, you're giving power to people who don't even have power over themselves. This is why you have to flip the script. Instead of reacting, start observing. Start analyzing. Start categorizing people based on what they offer, what they want, and how they operate. Just like you don't get emotional when your phone runs out of battery, you shouldn't get emotional when someone acts the way they're wired to act. They're just playing their role. Your job is to decide how and if you engage. And this shift in mindset gives you a massive advantage. While others are getting offended, triggered, or sucked into pointless arguments, you're conserving energy, staying clear-headed, and executing your own plan. You're not on defense. You're always on offense, always calculating, always calm. People aren't here to hurt you, they're here to help you. Train your mental discipline. Every difficult person is a test. Every disrespect is a mirror. Every interruption is a challenge to your focus. You either fall for it or you use it. You either get caught reacting emotionally or you rise above it and use that moment to sharpen your composure. This is the mental edge most people never build. They're too busy trying to make everyone like them, understand them, respect them. But when you accept that not everyone will, and not everyone should, you free yourself. And that freedom gives you the space to maneuver, to grow, to dominate, without constantly having to deal with emotional noise. Now, once you treat people as tools, it doesn't mean you see them as less than human. It means you understand that their role in your life is functional, not emotional. You engage when it makes sense. You ignore when it doesn't. You don't owe anyone your reaction, your peace, or your energy. You choose who gets your time and attention like a sniper chooses targets, carefully, precisely, and without emotion. This doesn't make you cold, it makes you dangerous in a world full of people who are emotionally erratic, easily provoked, and mentally fragile. When everyone else is wasting time being bothered by someone's opinion or tone, you're busy building, moving, and staying focused on your purpose. The truth is simple. If someone can bother you, they control you. If they can make you feel small, angry, defensive, or confused, they win. But if you treat every person as a chess piece and every interaction as a move on the board, you can't be shaken. You're not reactive, you're strategic. And in a world designed to distract and provoke, that kind of composure makes you unstoppable. Your reaction is always your responsibility. That sentence alone is the difference between people who take control of their lives and those who stay trapped in the same cycles forever. Weak people always have someone to blame. He made me mad, she disrespected me, they're the reason I'm like this. That mindset is poison. It keeps you soft, reactive, and completely at the mercy of whatever nonsense the world throws at you. But when you make the switch and start owning your reaction no matter what happens, you unlock a level of power most people never even touch. Because once you understand that nothing outside of you has the power to dictate how you feel or act, you become untouchable. The world is going to throw garbage at you every single day. Disrespect, delays, rejection, disloyalty, lies, jealousy. And if you crumble every time life gets a little messy, you'll be manipulated by everyone and everything. You'll waste hours, days, even years of your life reacting to things that don't even matter in the long run. But the truth is, your emotions aren't someone else's responsibility. Your anger isn't someone else's fault. Your anxiety isn't someone else's burden. You choose how to respond to every situation. And the moment you stop pretending people or circumstances have power over your emotions, you start moving like a real man. That doesn't mean you never feel things. It means you control the timeline. You control the intensity. You control whether that emotion turns into action or just passes through like a gust of wind. Let's say someone insults you. In that moment, you've got a choice. You can react instantly, yell, get triggered, look weak and emotional, or you can pause. You can assess whether this person's opinion even matters, whether they're worth a reply, whether your silence says more than 1,000 words, and most of the time, it does. Because composure speaks louder than any argument. Discipline is louder than drama. Every time you react without thinking, you reinforce emotional slavery. You teach your brain that outside triggers control your inside world. But if you flip that and instead choose to respond with clarity and power, you rewire your mind. You teach it that you are the authority in your life, that your emotions don't control you, you control them. This isn't about suppressing feelings. It's about mastering them. It's about knowing the difference between reacting like a child and responding like a leader. And every time you take responsibility for your response, no matter how disrespectful or unfair something is, you build a fortress around your mind that no one can break. Look at the most successful, dominant people in any field. They don't walk around angry, triggered, or whining about who did them wrong. They walk with calm. They move with purpose. They operate from power, not panic, because they understand one thing: reaction is weakness, response is strength. And they've trained themselves to never give anyone the satisfaction of seeing them lose control. That's the kind of strength most people lack. They're too busy trying to prove themselves to people who don't even matter. But when you take full ownership of your response, you don't need to prove anything. You just keep building, keep moving, keep winning. The moment you stop blaming the world for how you feel is the moment you start winning at life. That's the day you realize you're not a victim of anything, you're a product of your own choices. That's when real control begins. Control of your time, your energy, your mood, your path. And when that switch flips in your mind, you don't need to raise your voice or defend your pride. You just stand tall, unbothered, unshaken, fully in command. Because the man who controls his reaction is the man who owns the room. The reason most people get angry or bothered isn't because something bad happened, it's because they weren't prepared mentally. They walk around with soft minds, waiting for the world to be nice to them, fair to them, kind to them, and when it's not, they fall apart. They get offended, they lash out, they spiral into frustration because they weren't expecting the punch. But that's where the weak get exposed and the strong rise. You've got to bulletproof your mind before you step out the door, because the world doesn't care about your feelings, your expectations, or your comfort zone. It's cold, chaotic, and unapologetic. And unless you walk into it armored with mental toughness, you're going to be someone else's emotional puppet. Every single day, you should expect resistance, expect criticism, expect disrespect, expect confusion, not because you're negative, but because you're smart, you're prepared. And when you're mentally prepared, nothing can catch you off guard. When someone talks behind your back, you already knew that was a possibility. When someone disrespects you in public, you've already trained your mind for that moment. When your plans don't go the way you wanted, you don't break, you adapt. Because your mind is 10 steps ahead. You didn't hope for smooth sailing, you trained for war. And that's why you win. That's why you don't get rattled when someone tries to shake your foundation. Most people walk around with a fantasy mindset. They think if they're nice, life will be nice. If they stay quiet, drama won't find them. If they avoid conflict, conflict won't reach them. But that's just not how the world works. The world is going to come at you whether you're ready or not. So it's better to be ready. Better to expect that someone somewhere is going to test you today. And when they do, you've already built your response. Not with emotion, but with clarity and control. That's what separates people who get angry from people who stay composed. Preparation. If you don't prepare for the storm, don't be surprised when it floods your peace. When you know the enemy's coming, you're not scared, you're not shocked, you're in position, you're waiting. That's how your mind should be every day. You expect the challenge so you're not reacting like a clown when it shows up. You're not losing your temper, raising your voice, or throwing away your focus. You're calm, you're calculated, you're dangerous, because nothing surprises you anymore. That's the strength most people will never build because they live in delusion, not discipline. They think if they avoid negativity, it won't reach them. But the storm comes anyway, the disrespect shows up anyway, the betrayal hits anyway, and if you weren't ready, you're done. You build that readiness through repetition. Every time something upsets you, that's a training moment. Every time you feel disrespected, that's a mental workout. Every moment that challenges your calm is a moment to sharpen your control. You don't get strong in comfort. You get strong under pressure. And the more pressure you face, the more composed you become, if you choose to use it. That's what people miss. They think strength is born in peace. It's not. Strength is born in fire. And the ones who learn to stand still in the heat are the ones who dominate when everyone else is breaking down. Preparation kills anger. Anticipation crushes emotional reactions. When you've already played the scenario out in your mind, you don't panic when it happens. You nod, you execute, you stay calm. And that calmness makes you unstoppable. While everyone else is fighting battles they didn't train for, you're moving with precision, with confidence, with zero wasted energy. Because you expected the chaos and you mastered your mind before it ever arrived. You are not your thoughts. That's the truth most people never grasp. They hear a voice in their head and assume it's them. They feel an emotion rising and assume they have to obey it. They get triggered and think they have no choice but to react. That kind of thinking is exactly what keeps people weak, impulsive, and forever enslaved to their emotions. If you want to reach a place where no one can make you angry or bothered, you have to separate yourself from the noise in your own mind. You have to become the observer, not the reactor. That's the level of control that takes you from average to elite, and most will never touch it because they're too busy chasing validation or drowning in emotional chaos. The average person lives inside their emotions. They're not even present in reality. They're consumed by what someone said yesterday, what might happen tomorrow, how they're being perceived, and whether they're being liked. It's all noise, all distraction, all weakness. That's why the smallest insult can ruin their day. That's why the moment someone disrespects them, they explode. They've handed over the keys to their mind and let every external force take the wheel. That's not strength. That's mental slavery. You're not supposed to be a prisoner of your thoughts. You're supposed to be the one directing them. You're the one deciding which thoughts get energy and which ones die in silence. The problem is most people never pause long enough to ask where their thoughts are even coming from. Is it your mind telling you to lash out, or is it your ego? Is it truth, or is it fear? Is it strength talking or insecurity? Most people don't know because they never sit still. They never step back and analyze what's going on in their own head. And when you lack that awareness, you react like an animal. Not because you're evil, but because you're unconscious. You haven't trained the skill of mental discipline. You haven't learned to pull yourself out of the emotional spin and take control of the moment. And that's why every little thing still gets you. You don't stop being angry by avoiding conflict. You stop being angry by mastering the space between stimulus and response. That microsecond where something triggers you and you get to decide how to respond. That's where power lives. That's where peace lives. That's where freedom is built. The man who can pause and choose his reaction owns the situation. Not the loudest one, not the most aggressive one, the most composed one, the one who sees clearly while everyone else is blinded by rage, pride, or fear. That's what real mental dominance looks like. Not getting triggered when provoked, not letting your peace be hijacked by external chaos. You have to stop identifying with every thought that pops into your head. Just because you think something doesn't make it true. Just because you feel something doesn't mean you have to act on it. Discipline means being able to feel the fire without letting it burn you. It means hearing the voice of anger and saying, I hear you, but I'm not letting you take the wheel. And the more you practice that detachment, the stronger you become. It's not about being emotionless. It's about being in command. The storm can rage inside your chest, but you keep walking forward unshaken. That's the difference between men who react and men who rise. Most people try to win battles outside before they've even won the war inside. But if you don't master your own mind, nothing else matters. You'll keep chasing peace and never find it. You'll keep seeking control and never hold it. But once you separate from your thoughts and emotions and realize you're the one who decides what they mean, what they cause, and whether they matter, that's when you become untouchable. There's a reason people who operate at the highest level seem unshakable. It's not because life spares them problems. It's because they train every single day to become immune to emotional chaos. You can't expect to face pressure, conflict, insults, betrayal, and failure with composure if you never put yourself through anything hard. Strength is built through voluntary suffering. You've got to deliberately expose yourself to difficulty to build the capacity to remain calm under fire. People think calmness is a personality trait. It's not. It's a skill forged through discipline, repetition, and choosing discomfort over comfort every single day. You want to become someone who doesn't get angry? Then you need to start putting yourself through environments that test your patience, your tolerance, your self-control. You need to wake up early when your body wants to sleep. You need to keep your mouth shut when your ego wants to argue. You need to stay focused when your mind wants to wander. You need to train in the gym when your emotions say quit. But that's the battlefield, that's the training ground. Every act of self-discipline strengthens your control over yourself. And the more control you build, the less power the outside world has over you. Because when your mind is forged in discipline, nothing external can penetrate it. People want to be calm without ever choosing discomfort. They want to be patient without ever practicing restraint. They want to have thick skin without ever exposing themselves to challenge. It doesn't work that way. You don't get strong in silence. You get strong in the fire. And it has to be deliberate. If you're only training when it's convenient or easy, you're not training at all. You're maintaining. But if you want transformation, real, irreversible change, you have to force yourself into situations where your emotions get tested and then choose not to break. That's where growth is. That's where composure is built. You should deliberately choose the hard path every day. Don't wait for life to challenge you. Go out and meet the resistance head on, fast when your body craves comfort. Speak with clarity when people attack you. Refuse to explain yourself to people who don't deserve an explanation. Walk away from battles your ego wants to fight. That's how you train detachment. That's how you learn to sit in fire and not let it consume you. It's not about being numb or robotic. It's about choosing how to respond rather than being ruled by impulse. Most people are just slaves to how they feel. They think anger means attack, that disrespect means revenge, that offense means outrage. But when you've trained yourself in hardship, none of that has to control you anymore. Every time you face resistance and stay grounded, you reinforce your own power. Every time you face disrespect and respond with silence or strategy, you upgrade your emotional intelligence. Every time you refuse to react just because your emotions are loud, you separate yourself from the crowd. Because the world is full of reactors, people who can be manipulated with a word, a comment, a look. You don't want to be one of them. You want to be the one who sees everything, feels everything, but only responds when it serves your mission. That kind of power doesn't come from comfort. It comes from exposure. It comes from choosing the grind when no one's watching. It comes from embracing every uncomfortable moment as an opportunity to dominate your emotions, not bow to them. The man who can stay calm under pressure is a man who's seen pressure before and decided it wouldn't break him. He's trained for it. He's been there before. He's walked through the fire so many times that it no longer scares him. While the rest of the world crumbles under the weight of emotion, he moves with precision, clarity, and purpose. Not because life is easy for him, but because he made himself hard. He trained the skill of composure through self-inflicted discipline. And that's what makes him unstoppable. If you truly want to become unshakable, to walk through life without being owned by emotions, without letting people pull your strings like a puppet, then you need to master yourself. No excuses, no shortcuts, no waiting for peace to come to you. You build that peace through war. You forge that control through fire. Most people live their whole lives being triggered by every little thing, reacting to nonsense and letting others dictate their emotional state. That's not strength, that's weakness pretending to be normal. You're not here to be normal. You're here to be exceptional. And exceptional people don't fold under pressure. They rise above it. So train your mind like a weapon. Control your emotions like a master. And live your life like no one owns you. That's the only way to be truly free.